we can study the consumer equilibrium in terms of indifference curve analysis. The two tools that we are going to use in this connection are indifference map and the budget line. And these two concepts we have discussed already. Indifference map exhibits the consumer's preference of various combinations of two goods, say good X and good Y. Consumer is indifferent among combination within the indifference curve and not between the combinations of two different indifference curves. As the consumer assumes to behave rationally, he wants to reach the highest possible indifference curve. His aim is to maximize its utility. But he constrained by his income and the prices of good X and good Y. He can move inside the triangle AOB. He cannot move beyond the price line. A sensible consumer will move along the price line. That alone will exhaust his income after buying a combination. Well, we shall now define the consumer equilibrium. Consumer is in equilibrium when he maximizes its utility. At that point, consumer will not have a tendency to rearrange its purchase of two goods. He will not have a tendency to reallocate his budget. To analyze the equilibrium of the consumer, we have to integrate indifference map with the price line or the budget line. We know the consumer is going to choose any one of the combinations on the price line. As the first step, he fixes on the points common to both indifference curve and price line. They are D, F, C, G and H. So they are both common to indifference curve and budget line. The consumer prefers to move from point A and he moves and reaches at point D. He examines his position. He finds he is on indifference curve 1. He believes he can go for a higher level of utility. Again, he compares marginal rate of substitution S for Y with the price ratio. The MRX X for Y is greater than the price ratio. He substitutes good X for good Y and moves down. Listen very carefully. Substitute X for Y. He reaches the point F. He is on indifference curve 2 now. Again, he compares the marginal rate of substitution of X for Y with the price ratio. That is, MRX of X for Y is greater than price ratio. He feels there is a still scope for maximize its utility. He moves further down and reaches at point C. Once again, he compares MRX of X for Y with price ratio. That is MRX X for X of X for Y is equal to price ratio, and both are equal. And this is the highest possible indifference curve that the consumer can reach. Hence, C is the point of equilibrium. Anyway, we have to examine point G and H. Now, we shall make the consumer to move from point B. He moves up to point H. The combination H is on indifference curve 1. Moreover, the marginal rate of substitution of X for Y is less than the price ratio. Consumer is, in order to reach higher indifference curve, reallocates its budget and substitutes good Y for good X. Listen carefully. Now he substitutes Y for X. He moves to point G. This combination is on indifference curve 2. In this case also, marginal rate of substitution of X for Y is less than the price ratio. He rearranges its budget and substitutes Y for X. And thus he reaches at point C. It is on the indifference curve 3. Here, MRX of X for Y is equal to the price ratio. Even if the consumer wants to move to the indifference curve 4, he cannot, because it lies to the right of the price line. It is beyond the reach of the consumer. So, indifference curve 3 is the maximum possible indifference curve that the consumer can reach with his budget and the prices of two goods are given. Once again, we shall recollect the equilibrium conditions. At the point of equilibrium, marginal rate of substitution of X for Y must be equal to the price ratio. Since MRX for X for Y is the slope of the indifference curve and the price ratio is equal to the slope of the price line, the slope of the indifference curve must be equal to the slope of the price line. Slope of the indifference curve must be equal to the slope of the price line. Again, as the slope of the indifference curve is equal to the rate at which the consumer would like to exchange the good X for good Y, and the slope of the price line is equal to the market rate of exchange. The rate at which the consumer would like to exchange good X for good Y must be equal to the market rate of exchange. The equilibrium condition can be technically stated like this. At the point of equilibrium, the first added condition, the indifference curve must be tangential to the price line. Then, second order condition, marginal rate of substitution of X for Y must be diminishing, or indifference curve must be convex towards the origin. So that's all for today. So our consumer equilibrium through indifference curve analysis is over. See you in the next class.